Hello everyone, Dragonfly here on the deck of our DCS World Tarawa, and today we're going to build a simple wingtip formation training mission using an AI aircraft as a lead, and uses a couple interesting concepts in the mission editor, including the moving trigger zone, and we'll be also showing you how to use the advanced waypoint actions on the AI unit to manipulate the unit, and also the F10 radio menu, which we've used in the past, show you how to use that to start the actual AI aircraft and start the actual AI. So let's get into the mission editor. I'll be right back with you. Okay, here we are, excuse me, on a clean Caucasus map, and I'll briefly explain what we're going to build. We're going to put a Tarawa carrier down, and we're going to put an AI Harrier and a client Harrier on board. We're going to fly out about 10 miles from the carrier. The AI aircraft is going to enter a left-hand orbit until we can do a wingtip rejoin on him. Once we do a wingtip rejoin, he'll continue along his route of flight. What we'll do is fly over toward Batumi and down the coast just a little bit, and then back to the carrier for a overhead brake landing. So the first thing we need to do is put down our Tarawa. So I'll put it about 10-12 miles here off the coast of Batumi. There's a little ruler down here. If you want to check the distance, you can hit this ruler, hit left click, and then pull it out, and you can use that to more precisely put exactly how many miles you want to put things. So in this case, I'll just put it right here at about 12 miles out on a heading of 266. So first thing I'll do is go over to the add or modify ship group so we can put our Tarawa down. We'll click on that. And under category, I'm going to hit carrier. And under type, I'm going to hit LHA, landing helicopter attack or amphibious, and hit that. Okay, and then I'm going to put it on the map by left clicking. Now I'm going to name it, and I'm just going to name it Tarawa. And I put a unit name of Tarawa also. Give it a skill of excellent. Come down here and it automatically selects out of this menu our route of flight, our route of sail in this case, and it automatically puts you onto the add waypoint after the current waypoint, so we can actually put our points in to where we want our Tarawa to go. So let's put in 2 or 3 points. We'll put in 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go over here to the edit button while I show you what's going on here with these points. If you don't go to edit, when you hit anything on the map, it'll put another point down. Let's go back to point 0. Speed 0, that's okay for the first point. The speed is 27 knots for that it's going to be going to point 1, which is good for a carrier. It's what we want. And the interesting thing that you can look at on this menu is what time you're going to arrive at each of these points. This mission is starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and so by the time you get to point 4, it's almost 5 hours. So that's plenty of time for this mission. So let's go back to point 0 here, because I want to put a tack in onto our Tarawa carrier. So what we do is we come down here to this menu, the advanced waypoint action menu. hit that. And see, it's automatically, the mission editor kind of guides you along. And it comes up with an advanced waypoint action of activate TAC-in, which is what we want to use. So that's selected. So we'll come down here to this menu, open the current action, and edit. It comes up to perform command, which is exactly where we want to be. And we want to be on activate TAC-in, which it has already put us there. Okay. Now, we want the bearing selected. The channel, I'm going to use channel 11. And I'm going to use a call sign of TAR for Tarawa. Now, the important thing on the TAC-in menu is you need to link the TAC-in to the unit you want it to stay with. And in this case, obviously, the only thing we have is the Tarawa, and that's what we want, Tarawa. So we hit Tarawa. That's all there is to adding a TAC-in to the ship. Okay. So now let's zoom into the ship, and we're going to put down an AI aircraft and a client aircraft. So we come over to the add or modify airplane group, hit that. It comes up with a menu. First thing I want is the type of airplane. I don't want an A-10, I want an AV-8NA. This is going to be a AI aircraft, so I'll leave the skill at veteran. I'll go ahead and name it. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and put it down, then we'll name it. You can put it down anywhere on the ship because we're going to manipulate it here in a little bit. So let's put it down. There it is. Now I'll name it. I like to kind of be specific on my names on what they are. This is going to be a non-started, idle AI aircraft, and we're going to start it using a trigger. So I'm going to call it Cold AI Ship Harrier, just what I call it. And the pilot, I'll just call him Axel. Okay, and again, he is a veteran. It is USA. That all looks good. Let's make him Dodge. Okay. And we'll manipulate all this later. Okay, as before, the route of flight is already selected. We're already on the add menu, so we can go ahead and put our route of flight in. So let's zoom out here a little bit. I'm going to come off the ruler because I want to use it again here. Now I'm going to reselect it, and I want to go out about 10 miles here. It didn't have enough zoom there. Hit the ruler. And 10 miles is about there. Okay, so I'll reselect my aircraft. Okay, I'll come over here to the menus just because sometimes it's hard to get the boat versus the airplane. Okay, and when I did that, it actually went over to edit. I want add. Okay. And I'll put a point and a couple other points here. So let's put a point here, a point here, here, here. And we'll come on to an initial, let's say about here, and then back onto the ship. Okay, so we put our route of flight in, but we need to edit some things here on each of the points. I go ahead and leave in pretty much what it has there for starting conditions. But our first point, point 0, we want to take off, or we want to have a cold, dark Harrier there on the aircraft, or on the Tarawa. So I'm going to put takeoff from ramp, right there. Takeoff from ramp. Okay. That's what we use for a cold dark airplane. And when I did that, I should have showed you beforehand, an additional item popped up on this menu called uncontrolled. Okay, we're going to select that. Now what that uncontrolled does is turns the AI on and off. Okay, so taking off from ramp, so that's the 0 point. Let's go to the first point. I'm going to make it a flyover point because we're actually going to do an orbit off of this point. As I said, we're going to do a left-hand orbit, so and I don't want to go quite that high. Let's just go to 4,000 feet. Let's go to 350 knots. That'll be good. And then I'm going to come down. Let's see here to the advanced waypoint actions. See here, right here. And I'm going to add another advanced waypoint. So I come down to this menu, add. And as I said, we want it to do a left-hand circular orbit. So that's actually going to be under the Perform Task menu. Okay, so you can see it has Perform Task, Start En Route Task, Perform Command, or Set Options. But under Perform Tasks, the task is going to be orbit. Okay, now the type of orbit I just want it to do a circle. I don't want it to do a racetrack. And I want it to do that at 350 knots. And at 4,000 feet, so that's good. Okay, now we'll come back and put a stop condition in a little bit later because we want this airplane to orbit until we've rejoined on it and then to go about on its route of flight. Okay, so that's point 1. Now the rest of the points are just going to be turn points at 4,000 feet. And 350 knots. We're going to make it a little bit easy on ourselves, not change the airspeed too much. The AI is not a very good lead. It speeds up and slows down on a dime. .350. 0.4, same thing, 4,000. 350. 0.5, I think that was our 45 to initial there. So let's put him down at 2,000 here. He's going to descend here at 350. 0.6 is kind of a long initial. We'll put him down at 800 feet, which is pattern altitude, for the Tarawa at 350 knots. Okay, you can see it's not going to be a very long mission. If he were just to fly those points, he'd get there in about 9 minutes. Okay, so that's 0.6. 0.7, same thing, we'll leave it at 800 feet. 350 knots, give him time to stabilize. And then 0.8 is going to be our landing point. So down here under the type, we'll just put landing. Okay. And that's all we're going to do on our AI aircraft for right now. Now we'll put in our airplane, our player airplane, client airplane, by selecting the airplane group again. AV-8NA is already put in here. I'll just set my airplane down and I'll rename it. We're going to start hot. I mean, we're going to begin the mission hot, so I'm just going to call this hot. client ship Harrier. USA is selected. Now, important here under the skill, this is going to be a client airplane or a player airplane, whichever you want to call it. I'm going to go to as a client. And name, I'm just going to put my name, Dragonfly, or my call sign. And will be Dodge also, but Dodge 21. Okay. And again, the route of flight menu is illuminated, and we are on add. I'm just going to mirror his points. And the only reason I'm doing that is so I can kind of keep up with the mission when I'm flying it, because I'm not going to change the speeds or anything like that because I'm flying it. I don't need to worry about speed and altitude. But for points, I'll just put a point over top of each of these points. That way my navigation system will have the route of flight in it. Oh, we're going to do our own landing, so I'll just put 0.7 like that. That should work out pretty good. Okay. And that's all we need to do for our client airplane. Now at this point, we need to put our triggers in. And to do that, I'm going to come back up to the mission that I've already made and go through each of those triggers. Let me save this. Well, save. And then I'm going to open the other one that I have already built. Okay. And now I'm going to go over to triggers. And I'm going to put these in green just to distinguish them from the new ones that we put in. Okay, so the first thing we need to do in our mission flow is start our AI aircraft. And as I said, we're going to start him from the F10 menu in DCS World. DCS World has a communication menu, and in the mission editor, you can actually customize the F10 menu to do actions that you want to do. Excuse me, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. This first trigger basically just adds a radio item into the DCS World communication menu. And I'm going to build it new just to show you how it comes up. So we'll go new, that starts a new trigger. And you'll notice down here in our name, it gives it a unique number name. It's just a label. You can put anything in there. Whatever makes it so that you can follow along with your logic. Now in my case, I put add F10 radio item, start AI ship Harrier. Okay, but I don't want to type all that out. Okay, so under type, this particular trigger we want to start at mission start. So we'll put it as a mission start. There is no condition we want it to come up. So we go over into the actions, hit new, and again, the mission editor is pretty smart. But well, actually, it's not smart in this case. Let's see, we come down to the action menu. And as I said, we want to add a radio item is how they call it. Radio item, add for coalition. I think I've said before, I think they should put F10 radio item add for coalition. Would make more sense. But this is how it's labeled. Radio item add for coalition, and that will be in the F10 menu. For the coalition, we'll put blue. The name is the label that it's going to actually show on the menu, so it's very important that you put exactly what you want it to say. So I'm going to put Start AI Ship Harrier. Now, the flag, you can use whatever number you want. I usually like to use the first 10 flags for my radio item menus. I've never used more than 10. I think you can use up to 14, but like I said, I just normally use about 10. And so flag, I'm just going to leave it at 1, and then I'm going to leave the value at 1. Okay, so that trigger is in. Now, our next trigger, we want it to actually start the AI Harrier once we press that F10 menu. So we come down here. Again, you can label it whatever you want. We're going to leave this as once. It doesn't really matter in this case on this trigger. And what I'm going to do is the condition in this case is when that flag is true, that flag 1, i.e. when you push the menu item, it turns on flag 1, so flag 1 will be true. And what action will that do? Okay, well that action will, it comes up, we don't want it to end the mission, we want it to start the AI Harrier, and the action that we need to do that is AI task push. And if you come down to this drop down menu and hit that, it automatically has come up with the only AI action that we have right now that it generated when we hit that uncontrolled button. Code AI Ship Harrier Start AI Start. So it will start that AI Harrier. Now I like to put a little message in just so I know when this has happened. So I'm going to put a message to Coalition, blue AI Harrier engine start. So that'll give a little message up in the right hand corner. And 10 seconds is fine, no start delay. Okay, the last action I want to do, and this is, you don't have to do this, but I'd like to do it to help keep things clear in my own mind. I like when I have actions done for it to set a flag in case I ever want to use that action as to start something else. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to put flag on, and I'm going to use the 20 series flags for my action flags. So we'll say flag 21. Okay, so let's just go briefly over what's happened here. On the mission start, we added a radio item into our F10 menu. When we push that, it sets this flag 1, which starts our Harrier, gives us a little message, and sets that flag to 21. So that's the first 2 triggers. Now, I need to come out of the trigger menu here just for a second here, because I want to show you what I've done here with the moving trigger zone. I'm going to go over here to this menu, view trigger zone list, because I've already put this in. And I'm going to come off of hidden. What I've done is created a trigger zone is pretty near the AI airplane. Okay, so let's just go over here for real quick to the AI airplane. Cold AI Ship Harrier is selected. I'm going to create a trigger zone. Go up here to this menu, create trigger zone. And I'll put one down over here, but actually put it kind of close, as close as you can. I'll actually put another one on here. Boom. There it is. New trigger zone. And then in my case, I named it Wingtip formation. It was a circular zone, and it was only 200 feet wide. Okay. So that was the wingtip formation zone. You can change the color if you want. I'll put it blue. And you can hide it if you want. You don't have to. But for a moving trigger zone, it's important to link the unit, to link the zone to some unit. And in this case, it will be Axel. Axel was the pilot's name on our AI Harrier. Okay, so now that trigger zone will move along with Axel's airplane. And what we're using this for is when our player aircraft gets inside that zone, it'll tell the AI airplane, okay, he's rejoined. Now I can continue on to point 2 and on my route of flight. Okay, and I'll show you how we do that. But for right now, I'm going to get rid of this trigger zone that I just created. New trigger. And we'll just hit delete. Okay. So now let's go back to the triggers. And this third trigger, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did it up here. Let's get rid of these that we built, delete, since we know how to build a trigger now. And I'll go back down to the third trigger. And I named this one Moving Formation Trigger Zone, Set Flag 22. Okay, that's what I typed in here. It's only going to happen once. And I put 2 conditions in here. The first one, let's talk about the second one here first, is that when our airplane is inside that moving zone, so we go over to type, all the way down here to unit inside moving zone. Our airplane is called Dragonfly. So when Dragonfly is inside that moving zone, and what was the name of the moving zone? Wingtip formation. And what aircraft was assigned to that moving zone was Axel. Okay, so those 3 items are in each of these pull down menus. So the condition is once we're in that zone, it'll set a flag on 22, and we'll use that flag to go into the advanced waypoint actions of our AI airplane to make it do what we want it to do. Okay, and it sends a message to the coalition, and I just put in 2's in for 15 seconds to the blue coalition. Okay, but now logically, if our aircraft comes into that moving zone, as soon as it's inside that moving zone, that flag 22 would come on, and it would, in the case of this mission, push to waypoint 2. Well, we don't want it to happen immediately. We want to get in there and give us time to kind of stabilize on the guy's wing before he jerks off to 22, but to point 2. So that's what the second condition is. I put time since flag 21. So flag 21 Oh, actually, I misspoke on that. Just disregard that part. Uh, this flag is actually uh, happens back on the ship, and see, when we first come into the mission, both aircraft will be inside the moving zone, so it would immediately do these actions unless I put a delay in there. So what I did is I put a time sense flag. 21 was when the AI airplane starts of 180 seconds. So 3 minutes after the AI aircraft starts and we're in the moving zone, then those two actions will happen. Otherwise, it would happen immediately as soon as you started the mission. All right. And our fourth trigger, excuse me, is a rejoin delay. This is what I was talking about before when I got ahead of myself. Is once the aircraft is rejoined, we want to wait 20 seconds or so before he heads off to point 2. So I just put this delay in here. Time since flag 22, if you remember 22 sets when he actually does his rejoin. It'll send a message pushing to waypoint 2, and it'll turn on another flag just because I like to have my flags where I can, in case I need to do another action based on what's happened on this trigger. Okay, those are the 4 triggers that we used in this mission. Now I need to go back to my unit list, to my AI airplane, the Code AI Ship Harrier. Okay, I am in the edit menu, and I want to go to point 1, down to the advanced waypoint actions where we put the orbit in. Select orbit, and I want to edit it. Okay, now if we left it like it is right now, that airplane would just orbit forever until it ran out of gas, and then it would come back and land. We want to stop that orbit when our aircraft has gotten into the moving trigger zone. So it's a stop condition. So you have a condition and a stop condition. So for stop condition, we'll select stop condition. And you've got several conditions up here that you can use. You can use a time since the mission started. So if 20 minutes after you started the mission, you wanted to stop orbiting, you could do that. In our case, we wanted to stop orbiting when we've rejoined. So when user flag 22 is on. So I ticked is user flag 22, and if you tick it, it means it's on. If it's unticked, it means it's false. If it's true and false. Okay. So is user tag flag 22 on? It will stop the condition of this orbit. Okay, so that's a way you can manipulate the AI a little bit and get it to do what you want it to do exactly when you do it, when you want it to do it. Okay. And I believe, let me just go back here very quickly, make sure I've covered everything I wanted to cover today. We've covered the moving trigger zone. We've covered how to use an advanced waypoint action within the unit menu. We've covered how to start the AI using a radio item. Okay, so that completes the build of the mission. And the next video will actually fly the mission and see how it works. But actually, I am going to do one other small thing here, just to show you how to add static objects to your Tarawa. It really makes it feel a lot more like the Tarawa is alive. So let me just show you. We're going to add, I've got some added in here, so I'll just add another one just to show you where. We'll add another person, another crew member. So for static objects, you come over to this menu item, looks like a bridge, add or modify static object. Hit that. And let's see, you've got all kinds of different things you can add. Everything from, these two are static airplanes, from static airplanes to personnel to deck equipment. We're going to add a person and just to show you how to do it. Okay, so we go down to the category, personnel, and we want, let's see, we want a carrier technician. And let's put a blue shirt in. You can actually change the color of their shirts depending on what job they do. Now let's put a green shirt in. No, purple. Okay. And you can change the unit name if you want, or you don't. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. I'll just put A7 just to do that. Okay, so I'm going to place him down. Let's put him over here. Point him like he's looking at the airplane. Now, the important thing in adding the static objects is particularly when you're putting them on a moving unit, you need to link that static object to the carrier. So in this case, link unit will be the Tarawa, the AI Tarawa. Okay. And now when we start the mission, which we could, I hit yes and save our changes. I'll start it here real fast and I'll show you how it came up. Now I put a lot of other static objects in here too, just to make it look a lot prettier. And we'll select our hot client ship carrier. Hit OK, fly. And here you can see, there's our purple shirted guy that we just put down. And then I have a couple other static airplanes, some deck equipment. Gives it a lot more life on the carrier. But while we're here, I will show you the AI start, just so you want to take just a second here. So let's go into our airplane. Hit F1. And I'm going to bring up the, if you look over here to the right, that's our AI airplane that we put in our mission. Still has all the covers, all the intake covers and the covers on the sensors and the pitot tube, and there's no pilot in here. Well, when we go backslash to get into the DCS communication menu, you can see it's got an F10 menu. We hit F10, and the first item, first flag there, start AI ship carrier. That was the trigger we put in. So when we hit that, the pilot pops in, all the covers come off, comes up and says ship carrier engine start, and he starts his pre-flight. And he does it in about a minute, so it's not like it happens, not like a long delay, but that's probably a good place to go ahead and stop on this mission. I figure it's gotten to be a fairly long video. And but hopefully I've shown you a few techniques here that you can use in your missions. And the mission editor, as I've said before, is extremely powerful, and I enjoy building missions in it, and I hope you do too. And I was going to kind of delay here just a second just to see if he started taxiing out. There he goes. I put a fairly light load on him, so he's actually going to do a vertical takeoff. If you want to, we can sit and watch that just for a second here till when we fly the mission. We'll follow him out to the deck. We'll do a vertical takeoff with him and follow him out to point 1 and rejoin. Second, you'll see his flaps come down and his nozzles come down. There go his flaps, there goes his nozzles, and his power's coming up. There he goes. Okay. Come out of that. I do want to go back to the mission editor because I did think of one thing that I didn't show you. Go back to the unit list on the Cold AI Ship Harrier. I didn't show you the loadout that I put in, and you go over the route of flight, you go to the payload, and in the case of this mission, I actually put a couple Mark 82s, a gun, and 2 sidearms on board, and I brought the fuel load down. If you look down here to internal fuel to about 60%, which gave him a total weight of about almost 23,000 pounds. I really didn't think he would do a vertical takeoff at that high a weight, but the AI airplanes can lift a lot more than the Harrier or the client Harriers. The client Harrier, if that was above 20,500, you'd never get off the ground. So, but that's what I did. And then let's go to the hot client ship Harrier. For our airplane, all I did was a couple sidearms and a gun and brought the internal fuel down to 52%. And it says that the total is 21,063, but a lot of times this doesn't match up with what is actually in the mission. It's actually about 20,000 pounds gross weight, and I'll show you that when we actually fly the mission. Okay, well, that was a little bit off topic, but I wanted to show you basically that I did put a little bit of a loadout on each of those airplanes and how to do that from the mission editor. Okay, well, that finishes it up. Thanks for being here, and also thanks for all those folks that have liked or subscribed to my channel. It helps a lot in the YouTube algorithm to get the content out there to other people who like this kind of content.